Welcome to Brews Corner. As you know, on Brews Corner, I talk about leadership. And so I want to talk about this topic of making choices and making good choices. And the levels of choices we make are important to understand. So I call them yields in the road. I think we have different levels of yields in the road that we face in our lifetime. And so I think we need to recognize those yields in the road. And what do I mean by that? You're either going to choose the right path in the yield or you're going to go left. And you're going to make a wrong decision or wrong choice. And so I want to relate some of the topics that are happening in today's world. And then I want to share some experiences. And I want us to think about, before we make choices, this yield in the road and the impact it will have on our lives with the choices we make. So one of the rules that I share with when I coach, when I teach, is if you make a mistake, the best way to learn, in my opinion, is from making mistakes and learning from them. However, if you're making the same mistake over and over again, you've got to look in the mirror. There's something wrong there. And you're taking that left in the yield every time, and it's affecting your life probably in a negative way. So here's my cardinal rule. You have students, your kids, or your athletes make a mistake. You see that they try to learn from it. Even if it's like on a social level, on the court, on the field, or in general life. So, you get peer pressured into smoking marijuana or weed. You do it one time. You tell your kids you caught them or whatever. You don't want to do that. And I know some people think it's socially acceptable to do that. Let's say, you know that's a wrong choice, or you choose to hang out a wrong crowd, and you're drinking, and you get wasted and all the time, and you're making these wrong choices. And you continue to do this. For example, you get behind the wheel and you get pulled over and you get a warning and you're lucky. Let's say you do it a second and third time. That's where you're taking the left in the yield. You're not learning from your mistakes. So I know that's a higher level of mistake, but I always share this lesson with my kids. In today's world, this generation thinks they're invincible, but it only takes one choice, one bad decision, one yield in the road where you go left that it can impact your whole entire life. For example, getting someone pregnant, drinking and driving, hurting somebody. You make a mistake, you gotta learn from it. You make it a second time, now you're testing yourself and you're really taking chances. You do something a third or fourth time that's the same mistake, you're taking the left in the road and you're going to face negative impacts in your life. So look at yields in the roads as levels. Okay, so let's say a kid chooses to swear. Okay, all right, it's not good to swear. That's a minimal thing. Okay, that's one of those yields in the road. Well, hey, use appropriate language, use proper language, be ethical. Okay, then there's that medium-sized maybe yield in the road where you cheat on a test or a quiz. You didn't study and you're taking the easy way out. On the athletic field, you're supposed to do 30 sit-ups, you do 15. You lie. You're going left. It's a yield in the road. You're not going to get any better. It's going to affect you negatively. So the minor yields, the medium yields, the major yields, getting someone pregnant, doing drugs, becoming an alcoholic, those are all choices. Facing stress and adversity in a negative way and making bad choices is going left in the yield, and those are impacting our lives. We need to teach these different levels of yields in the road to our children, especially this generation. Learn from those mistakes after the first time you make it the best you can. Because again, I go back to this, if you make the big mistake, it only takes one time that it impacts your life. You've got kids now, and at a young age, you have to take care of a baby because you got somebody pregnant. Or you've done drugs so much that you're reliant on drugs, painkillers, alcohol, and you're making bad choices throughout your day, that's impacting your life in a negative way. You've shortened your life by doing this, and it's a huge impact. Those are high level yields in the road. You're going left. You've got to find ways to take the right path. And one of the best sermons I ever heard was in Oneonta, New York, near Delhi, New York, like the Catskill Mountain region of New York. And the minister talked about yields in the road. And he said, you're always going to have decisions and choices to make, and you're always going to have the opportunity to go right. But there's going to be times where you go left. And if you learn from it, great. You're going to have a very good life. But if you keep making the same mistake over and those mistakes become habit and you keep going left, your life will be shortened. It will be negative. You'll face stress. You won't be as healthy mentally or physically. But we have to teach identification and recognizing what is a good choice going right and what is a bad choice going left. We can apply these same rules in the classroom to our students. We can apply these same rules on the playing field. So we as leaders in the workforce, somebody shows up late, you reprimand it so they learn from it. They keep showing up late, you demote them, you fire them. That's on them, on choices. But I think we got to teach those choices. An employee doesn't give good customer service and they're, treating the customer bad or they're being rude. You teach them that you're taking a left in the road. You have a bad day. You customer service people that are servers or, waiters or waitresses, you show your bad day and you take it out on the customer. Those are bad choices. You're taking the left in the road. But us as leaders, managers, we have to recognize that and teach. Are you going to choose the right path or the path that's going to lead you to get demoted or fired in a job? In the classroom, kids swear or they talk back to a teacher or they don't do their homework or they cheat. We got to tell them, that's a choice, that's a decision. You're going to fail. You're going to repeat the grade. You're not going to make it in life if you take shortcuts. That's a yield in the road. What's a good choice? What's a bad choice? These are character traits. I know we teach this in the schools. On the playing field, on the court, if an athlete doesn't pay attention to fundamentals or is undisciplined and doesn't focus, we can teach that that's a yield in the road. Why do you keep choosing to not focus on fundamentals and making mistakes? Why do you keep choosing your old habits? We've got to teach, hey, improvement. If you're making the right choice, you're going right in the yield. Now you've got to make that habit. You've got to make that the good habit, the good choices, good decisions. You're going to become a better player, better athlete for it. And we need to teach this to our kids. And this generation especially is desperate to be taught what good decisions and good choices look like. And the levels of yields in the road they'll face in their life. Again, I go back to this generation thinks they're invincible. And people, parents, it only takes one time where you lose track of your kid. They're out at 2 a.m. running the streets to make a bad choice that can impact the rest of their life. It's a message to you to be good parents and don't allow your kids to make the bad choice. We have some control over this. We can teach those lessons. We can teach and show our kids how to learn from mistakes. We look at what's going on in the world. Kids are on social media. They see the country divided. They see people making bad choices, yelling, screaming, swearing at each other during these protests, throwing things, fighting, hurting each other, killing each other, making bad choices. And when you make bad choices, it's sometimes due to peer pressure, being influenced. And again, we have to teach that. You're not invincible. It could take one thing, one mistake. You get in a fight and you punch somebody in the nose and that nose shatters and that bone goes into someone's brain and you kill them. You could have chose to talk. You could have chose to compromise. You could have chose to walk away. Instead, you chose to kill somebody. It only takes one time to ruin your life. There's these protests. There's the pandemic. We can choose to wear masks and protect older people or people with weak immune systems. We can choose to break or bend the rules when we're in large gatherings and not wear masks and party right now during this time. And we can continue to kill or hurt each other or get each other sick. Now again, you guys have heard my stance on the masks. I think you wear the masks where appropriate. You wear the mask when you're around elderly or people who are sick with weak immune systems, people in hospice or in elderly homes. That's when you wear them. Out at schools, out in other areas or arenas, I think it's very important to understand that masks should be worn at times. At times when there's elderly, at times when there's sick people, at times when there's weak immune system, or when you're in large gatherings, large groups. That's when they should be worn. But on our daily lives for 8 hours a day, I feel for those people. I understand essential workers have to wear them. But in some arenas, we don't have to have this. Like athletics, these kids are in the best shape of their lives. 99% of people that are under the age of 60 are surviving this COVID virus. It's a 99.7% survival rate. We need to get back to normal. We have to have a leader step up and share this and make a decision and make a choice back to a yield in the road. How are you going to protect people during this pandemic with masks? Are you going to choose the right and the yield or the left? How are we going to lead? How are we going to teach kids? Are we going to ignore it and just not even bother and keep going left? Or are we going to take that right path and be consistent with the choices and decisions we make? I challenge our leaders during this pandemic and these protestings to be more consistent, to be more firm and direct and not waver. I know people have their opinions on governors and the President of the United States, but I think the President is starting to be more forceful and direct, and enough is enough with the violence, with the, BLM. I have Black American friends, and they think BLM movement's wrong. Black people of color, Black Americans have every right to free education, have every right to go to college and have a job, be a head coach, be a principal, be a high administrator. We have made leaps and bounds because we've learned from history. Abraham Lincoln, it started. We learned from the days of slavery. We've made leaps and bounds. We've progressed. We've improved. Let's not digress. And I think that's what Trump's trying to protect against. Why are we tearing down statues and monuments where those were mistakes back in the past, and we learned and made ourselves better from the past? You have to know your mistakes before you learn from them. Yes, maybe those were times, and that's historical things that people may frown upon, but those are the successes we learn from. We learn from things we've improved, and those are successes. And so if you want to bash presidents and governors, they're trying the best they can. But those who are governors who are wavering and changing their minds and not really giving a clear message to the American people, this is leadership. You're teaching our kids how to bend and break rules. You're not being firm. And so I'm going to say, let's be independent thinkers this generation. With regards to the pandemic, wear masks around elderly people. They'll feel you're respecting them. Wear masks if you know you're going to a hospice or you're in an elderly home or you're around people with weak immune systems. If you're around your own crowd that's young and healthy, I think, don't be in large gatherings, but the masks, again, we need to be teaching where appropriate and not appropriate. And you guys have known that stance from day one. I have not wavered about my decision on that. I think what was done in the northern states was the right thing. They teamed up. I'll give Andrew Cuomo deserves some credit. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not devoting Democrat. I'm now pro-Trump. But I'll say who did a great job during the pandemic is Andrew Cuomo, epicenter of the pandemic in New York City. He enforced rules. My parents live in Buffalo, New York. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Rules were enforced. States are in agreement. They teamed up. He formed a coalition of states to team up and work together. We saw that in the northern states. Kudos to Andrew Cuomo. But kudos to Donald Trump and the Republican Party for no more protesting, no more hurting the economy, no more violence. If we need to take our country over with regards to police, and by the way, I got your six. And police officers always have our six, so we got to have their six, man. They had our six during 9/11. They've had our six when we've been in desperate times and needs. And we've got to be pro-blue, pro-police. And we need to as a country, make a choice and a decision. Back to leadership. We need to be encouraged to compromise, and we need to be the ones that help the peace movement. We need to be the ones that make the smart choices, and during these protests, not to be protesting violently, to be peaceful, and to understand the other side. The toughest thing to do, and this is another sermon that I've heard, the toughest thing to do is forgive people. We need to get our mindset into forgiving. We got to give our mindset into understanding and compromising and understand different cultures and where people are coming from. There's no need for these protests to get physical or yelling and screaming. Do your thing among your own people. Celebrate the American flag. Celebrate our military. Celebrate the loved ones that have protected this country, that are still here and gone. Professional athletes, let's make a choice of not using a stage for attention and kneeling and encouraging this unlawful protesting, because you're using a stage to influence and entice young people's minds to kneel during the stage. It is not a place. Professional sports is a place where fans are there to cheer you and support you, not for you to share your political stance and kneel. Professional athletes in the NBA, please stand, put your hand over heart and hand behind back, and honor the American military and troops and flag and what we've learned from past history and what we've become. Please honor America, because we are the best country in the world. We are the best nation in the world, and we need to come together as one. So you prominent professional athletes that are kneeling and teaching our youth and to take the left in this, please don't. Stop your selfishness. Stop grasping for attention, and please stand during the national anthem in the NFL, the NBA, NHL, kudos, MLB, in the National Hockey League, kudos to you. Our brother, our neighbor, and how you've handled the pandemic. Canada, I love Canada. I love what you stand for. I love that you're the United States of America neighbor and how you work united as a nation. We as Americans need to get back to our identity, and that is being united, being able to forgive, being able to compromise, be able to understand other people's stances without fighting, without yelling, screaming, swearing at each other. Love one another. How hard is it to behave? How hard is it to love one another? Let's celebrate together. Let's celebrate our differences. Let's celebrate those things, man. Change our mindset, America. We need to change our mindset and take the right path in the yield, and we need to celebrate together our differences. I have Black American friends that I love dearly that have talked to me and said, we have not been oppressed. The blue has our six. We have every right to go for free education in high school and college. We have every right to get a job as much as any other person in this world. Like, I have a couple great friends that have told me that we've digressed. Martin Luther King would not believe in what is going on right now. He would be against this. He would be talking about forgiveness and peaceful protesting to take your stance, not using professional sports as a stage. He would be saying that's causing divide. That's causing resentment. Professional athletes, your political movement and kneeling is not supposed to be for attention and, ooh, look at me. Please do this on a different stage. Please educate us on your stance within a different setting. Not where people are looking to celebrate and support you and love you. You're making millions of dollars. Blue-collar workers are going to watch you play. And we're taking our paychecks to support you, cheer you, our families, our kids. And we're loving you and loving your prowess, your physical attributes, your skill level. We're there to release stress and love you and support you and cheer you and root you on. We're fans of you, NBA players. We're fans of you, NFL players. We're fans of you, MLB. NHL, keep doing your thing. I love hockey. Love what you stand for. I love the Denver Broncos and John Elway, what he stands for. He's staying consistent. I hope that they don't waver on that and that they stick with standing. Please honor the American flag. Please honor the American people. And my repetitious message is, can we forgive? Can we compromise? Can we accept each other? Can we understand each other's differences and go amongst these protest and celebrate the country together. 9/11, let's make it something that's awesome. There are so many tragic stories for 9/11 that we watched and witnessed. Let's celebrate those people's lives by forgiving them. Let's forget our petty differences, and let's celebrate the lives of those that were lost on 9/11. Let's, on 9/11 this year, celebrate our military, celebrate the loved ones that were lost in 9/11 in the terrorist attack. Let's celebrate those men and women that are fighting for our rights. Professional athletes, they're fighting for your right to earn millions and play the sport you love. Again, as a country, fellow Americans, fellow Canadians, can we come together, everyone of every race and every ethnicity, Black Americans, white Americans, Hispanics, Latino, Latina, Pacific Islanders, can we all, American Indian, can we all come together on 9/11, parade together, love one another, understand each other's stances and hear each other out, forgive and compromise, and celebrate as one nation. Let's celebrate, unify. We make that decision, again, back to the yield on the road. The right path here for us Americans is to behave, love one another, forgive one another, understand each other's cultures, stances, and compromise. And give a handshake and a hug or a fist pump and say, I got your six. If I disagree with your political stance, I'll still have your six if we're in a foxhole and fighting together to survive, to protect our rights, to protect each other. Love one another. This is Professor Brew.